suggested that the moment the projects are ready, we are quite happy to also front load a large chunk of this investment commitment. Today, I come before you on 31st December, within 5-6 months, after, not even 6 months yet, after the announcement was made, the task force was formed. Now today they have come up with, for the 100 lakh crore that we had committed, 102 lakh crore worth of projects. The task force in only 4 months held 70 different stakeholders consultation, and the stakeholders consultations were with the ministries, with state governments, with infrastructure companies, with developers, bankers, with NBFCs, and also with PE players and industry association. So 70 different meetings were held during the course of the 4 months. And for the 100 lakh crores, today we have a compilation of 102 lakh crores worth projects. However, even as we are talking here, I'm happy to say that projects are coming in, and in the next couple of weeks, we will probably reach a 3 lakh crores. For the 100 lakh crore, 102 lakh crore worth compilation is what I'm giving you now. But in addition, a few more states are coming up with another 3 lakh crore worth of projects. So in all, I think we'll have about 105 lakh crore in total of projects for the 100 lakh crore commitment that we've made. And these projects spread across 22 ministries and 18 states and union territories. We also intend to launch a NIP, the National Infrastructure Pipeline coordination mechanism, consisting of the center, the states, and also the private sector, so that they can get into detailed planning and also information dissemination, together with monitoring the implementation of this entire NIP framework. This is the first time in this country you have a national infrastructure pipeline, which actually then makes the job of monitoring, linking with the developers and promoters all fairly well structured and easier. In the last 6 years, infrastructure has been a focus, and you would know of this government also in its previous tenure. And in the last 6 years, on infrastructure by center and by the states, a total of 51 lakh crores, that is about 5 to 6% of the GDP, has been spent on infrastructure. I repeat that, both center and state together in the last 6 years have spent 51 lakh crores, resulting in about 5 to 6% of GDP. Now what we are committing here is 100 lakh crore for the next 5 years, and I'm already telling you that the report which will be released just now consists projects worth 102 lakh, which in the next couple of days we should be able to add another 3 lakh crores to it, totaling 105 lakh crores spread over 18 ministries and 21 ministries and 18 states and union territories. Now in this profile, the NIP profile as it stands today consists of center 39% share, states 39% share, which is equal share, and private sector 22%. We expect that the private sector's share to increase to at least 30% by 2025. Private sector to increase to 30% by 2025. Just a bit more of detail. Out of the total NIP of 102 lakh crores, which I've told you just as it stands today, 42.7 lakh crore, that is 43% worth of projects are under implementation. 32.7 lakh crore, which is about 33% worth of projects are at conceptualization stage, and 19.1 lakh crore, which is about 19% worth of projects are under development, which is the DPR is done, but construction is yet to start. So hence approximately about 63% of the projects of the pipeline is completely firmed up. I like to underline the fact that keeping in line with the government's priorities, keeping in line with the flagship schemes of the government, so the infrastructure investment will be very much in alignment with them. So power, railways, power including renewable sector, urban and urban areas development, irrigation, mobility, education, health, water and digital sectors form the bulk of the pipeline that we are announcing today. I repeat, power, railways, power including renewable sector, urban, irrigation, mobility, education, health, water and digital sectors form the bulk of all the pipeline projects which are being detailed out today. There were several working groups under the task force which was appointed for this purpose, and the working groups in each of the areas other than identifying projects have also suggested a lot of reform related steps which will go together with this. Otherwise, announcing just the pipeline with a lot more difficulties here and there without steps taken to reform those will not really ease the process, because ultimately all these are done with an intention of making ease of living for the citizen and ease of doing business for the businesses. And therefore, some of the suggestions which have come out, given by various working groups, will be taken up with all earnestness, which will look at various aspects of the financial sector, whether it is looking at the bond markets or innovative vehicles like the alternative investment funds, and also instruments like InvITs, which will provide bulk of the debt financing which is necessary for all this purpose. Improving on development process, project development process itself, such as planning and designing and better marketing, etc. So we are looking at various steps to reform the PPP based contracts which have to be implemented, dispute resolution related, enforcement of contracts, which is a very critical component. All this is also being looked at when we are talking about reforming the entire process per the suggestions given by the working groups under the task force. A robust monitoring framework will also be established. Detailed reports, which will be released soon, will also include sectors, the reforms and steps which are being suggested in each of their reports, and an online dashboard and a data room is expected to be set up also. Another very important step which will interest the media is that an annual global investors meet is expected to be organized, with the first edition in the second half of this year, meaning the coming year 2020, where the center and states will get to meet all the investors and to talk to them about infrastructure opportunities. Whilst it's important to understand that we've done a detailed work in getting this report out, the monitoring framework, it will be the job of the monitoring framework to keep it robust, to, as we go on, to consider the strengths and also challenges of all the listed projects, and to make sure that if it is unsustainable for any one of the projects to keep going on it, also have the flexibility to drop it and pick up on some newer project. So that flexibility is being given in order that the end of the objective is well attained rather than be left with laggards. So that flexibility is being given to the monitoring group, and therefore, if that is a flexibility offered and if decisions are going to be here and there real worked out, how will you get to know? There will be an annual supplementary report issued every year so that you have updated list of projects, most of which will have to be necessarily continuing just in case there is any change in its terms of engagement or conditions. So I like to present it. I'm sure we are releasing that document for your consideration. I'm happy to say that the promise which the Prime Minister made during an Independence Day speech of 2019, within the end of this year, we have kept the promise, delivered on it, and the facts are before you for you to analyze it. Thank you.
Now we will have the unveiling of first report of the task force.
Giving the audio to...
Thank you.
Friends, this report will be on the website of the Ministry of Finance, and we will also provide the link on the PIB website. Now we take few questions. You have the number plates before your seat. Please use the numbers. 22.
Ma'am, given the limited success of given the limited success of public-private partnership, how optimistic are you about attaining this 22%, share of PPP projects, which is going to, rise to 30%?
Whilst we learn from the past experiences, it's also important that the private sector themselves have expressed keenness in participating in this and wanting to be a part of this whole attempt to build national infrastructure. And therefore, I hope that the private sector, which is also equally commercially conscious of their investments and the outcome, have come in clearly understanding that we all are in it together.
58.
Ma'am, this is Nirbhay from INS. Ma'am, you gave the breakup of this 102 lakh crore infra projects, 39, 39 and 22. And in the last 6 years, you said 51 lakh crore were spent by center and state. So for this 51 lakh crore, how much investment came from the private sector? If you could just tell us.
Do we have it straight away or should we give it some other time?
We'll give this exact numbers to you separately.
Number 6.
Hi ma'am. So you are also indicating that this will go up to 105 lakh odd crores over the next few weeks from 102. That's one, ma'am. And 33, 33 and 22, how does that really work out, especially in terms of PPP? Could you share with us some of the reform steps, because those projects have really not worked in the past, the PPP model. Any other new model that we are thinking of?
FM has already outlined in a statement some of the major reform steps. Rest will go by sector-wise. So I guess this particular document is getting uploaded. That will give you a very good idea about the reform step. But some of them, and the financing side is like having a development financial institution, deepening of corporate bond market, setting up a credit enhancement organization, FDI limit already being increased. So these are the kind of steps which bring the fund flow into these projects. Then reforming the PPP contracts themselves, about which there has been a lot of talk to which Finance Minister had just alluded to. So rest of it is actually the detail where how the risk sharing mechanism takes place. And so you could see that, but broadly on the overlay of all the projects, this is what would lie there.
21.
Ma'am, Meghna Mittal from Newsrise. You said that almost 63% projects are completely firmed up and the entire number of projects will be front-loaded, you said. So should we expect that the 63% of projects will be front-loaded, and what will be the amount of crore that will...
See, the expected phasing during financial year 2020 is about 18.44 lakhs, and in FY21 is 21.62. The full phasing you can see in the report, which would be on the website. However, it could even move further depending upon, there are issues like the spending in a particular project and so on and so forth. But the expecting phasing is 18.44 in the first year. 21.62 lakh crore in the second year, that is 21. In 22, it's 24.78 lakh crores. 23, it is 21.29 lakh crores. 25, it is 25.34 lakh crores. And then more projects do get added, and it does build up as...
Number 5.
16.
Part of what is getting uploaded is this information. So even if you didn't jot it down, you'll get it as a part of what is getting uploaded there.
Ma'am, with respect to enforcement of...
Just a bit of a correction there.
I'll just come out with the correct page of the document.
Yeah. The meanwhile.
Ma'am, with respect to enforcement of contracts, that has been a major overhang, something that was pointed out in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business report as well. What kind of suggestions has been made in this report, and how will the government ensure that both the centre and the state are on the same page with respect to this issue of enforcement of contracts and dispute resolution as well?
I think there are several things happening at the same time. This concern of enforcing contracts comes from two different angles. One, of course, is every parameter which is used for ranking ease of doing business. Enforcement of contract is a very critical indicator. So, in general, government is looking at interacting with states and making sure that that is really pepped up so that we rank well in it. But also recent concerns about states which are reviewing or reconsidering, and on that angle there's also a sudden anxiety about which both centre and states are talking to each other. So when you're talking of enforcement of contract, in general for the sake of looking at ease of doing business, and in particular when you're talking about states concern, engagement is happening between centre and states.
Number 11.
Just a correction. And the figures which are available at page 38 of the report, they read as follows. For financial year FY20, 13.6 lakh crores. For FY21, it is 19.5. For FY22, it is 19 lakh crore. And FY23, it's 13.8. And FY24, it's 12.8. However, this phasing in the sense would also change for certain projects depending upon their pace of implementation. Some could be faster, one or two could be laggard, or one new major project could get added. To that extent, this is not cast in stone, but will have some minor deviation. But this sets broadly the parameter for an outside investor as well as domestically for the government, both in centre and state, to start preparation for their project and align their budgetary priority accordingly.
Ma'am, at the side, Rituparna, while deciding on the projects, 102 lakh crores plus 3 lakh crore, what criteria was used to identify these projects? Because in certain sectors, for example, like in power, in thermal, there are already projects which are lying idle because the demand is not there. So what kind of, criteria was, used to identify the specific projects by the panel?
These projects are all driven by the respective ministries. The basic parameter was that there should be an adequate development of the project, there should be a preparation, it should be fairly well conceptualized, and above 100 crores, so that it takes care of largely most of the projects. And where the projects are very small but very innovative and they could be lumped together and can be put together, that was also done, because in digital projects they tend to be much smaller project but having a much larger impact. Therefore, but otherwise for the physical projects, the cutoff was 100 crores sustainability and preparation of the project.
47.
तो ये था कि जिस समय जीएसटी लागू हुआ था उस समय 20 लाख तक के जो टर्नओवर है उनको जो है जीएसटी नंबर लेने की जरूरत नहीं है, ऐसा कुछ कहा गया था। लेकिन इस समय जो छोटे जो न्यूज़पेपर है वो अगर डीएवीपी में अप्लाई करते हैं उस समय जीएसटी उनसे नंबर मांगा जाता है सबसे पहले। और दूसरा मैम, ये पर्सनल ये एक कंपनी है एनएनएस मीडिया हाउस, जो कि टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया, हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स सब्सक्राइबर हैं, बड़े बड़े दैनिक जागरण।
That was Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman speaking after the launch of National Infrastructure Pipeline. She gave a number of pointers which we'll tell you in the bulletin that follows. From here, we'll take you live to Trivandrum, where Union IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad is addressing a gathering, a press conference there.
When the